Ni hao, konnichiwa, shalom, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo.
Bienvenidos! Hey, my name is Jadley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are beaming out to you and the entire planet from the beautiful, historical, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so delighted and so very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, YouTube, Podcast Addict, Audible, Amazon Music, wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really wonderful, powerful show for you today. First up, Dr. Christopher Choukalas is here to celebrate his memoir, It's Even the Darkest Night. This memoir tries to answer the question, can men experience paternal postnatal depression? Later in the show, Anastasia Sardakis is here to celebrate my first time on a school bus. And Miss Bree will be here to celebrate her picture book, Having a Giraffe as a Classroom Pet. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Holub, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. Join us right now from the beautiful state of California. Our guest is here today to celebrate his new memoir. It's called Even the Darkest Night, a memoir of paternal postnatal depression. Please welcome to the show Dr. Christopher Choukalas. Dr. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jed. Thank you.
Happy to have you on, and I'm really curious about Even the Darkest Night. Tell us about this, please.
Well, it's funny you said the word celebrate, and it feels like a funny thing to celebrate something that's so that is descriptive of such a dark period in my life and in my family's life. But it does, in a way, feel like a celebration because now we're on the kind of back end of this really pretty horrific event. Doesn't even really capture it. It was months and months of this, and so the book started for me as kind of a journaling project, as these things were happening to us, as our birth experience went from kind of normal to really, really not normal. And as we went from hospital to home and from home to this just frightening, anxiety-riddled period of life for me, I started journaling about it. And as weeks turned to months and as I started to finally get help and get better, my wife, Lindsay, and I decided we should turn this into something. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of a book was born. In part, I think to kind of put a bow around this thing that had happened to us, and in part, too, to try to bring awareness to something that I think a lot of people are dealing with in silence so that they know that it's okay to go and get help and that they can get a lot better.
Yeah. So just so that I'm clear, your baby came into the world healthy, alive, and that sent you
Yes.
into a depression.
Yeah, it was a little more complicated than that in the sense that, first of all, it was two babies. So we had
Okay.
twins. And that happened on the tail end of 5+ years of trying to get pregnant. And when I say trying, I mean writing big checks and doing lots of procedures, things that in so many ways impacted Lindsay more directly than me, but that I think, helped set the stage for the stresses that we were to encounter later.
Mm-hmm.
The birth experience itself left the girls healthy and robust. I mean, these are twins that made it to full term. They were 6.5 pounds each. But during the C-section, Lindsay developed postpartum hemorrhage and bled to the point that she very easily could have died if not for the fact that she was in this very high-level hospital with very, very talented people taking care of her. I mean, she lost 20 units of blood.
Wow.
She had to have an emergency called a massive transfusion protocol enacted where they bring in tons of blood, tons of people in a giant machine that can transfuse blood at a rate that's fast enough for emergencies. And so although the girls were healthy, we came into parenthood really having had this terribly traumatic event for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, does the fact that you are a medical doctor kind of worsen the situation because you knew all the horrible things that could come from this?
That was certainly part of it. And I think if we take ourselves back in time to August of 2020, I'm an anesthesiologist, and at the time I was also doing intensive care medicine. And so I was caring for COVID patients and watching people die horrifically with the regularity that most doctors don't see in their whole careers, and seeing and doing the hardest things we know how to do day after day in a society that was becoming increasingly ungrateful. And then to be an anesthesiologist and sitting there in the operating room and watching all this stuff unfold was difficult in the sense that, I'm a civilian there. I can't do anything. And I'm also holding these babies. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, there is a calmness, I think, that comes from the fact that you're holding these babies and nobody is freaking out. Nobody's running around screaming. Nobody's taking the babies from you and shooing you out. But also an acknowledgement based on the fact that I know what's happening at some level, and I can see the numbers and I can see what's going on. And so there was this real disconnect between what I was seeing and what kind of tingling was going on in my doctor brainstem, juxtaposed against the fact that I'm still holding these babies and they're fine. So it was knowing enough was difficult in that it just created this huge dissonant mindset for me. It was really something.
I bet. I remember how my life changed when my son came into my life. And that was a really easy peasy kind of, and I think my wife would also agree, it was, get me to the hospital. And the doctor's like, oh, she's not ready. Take your time. And I stopped and got gas and she's screaming at me, get to the hospital. And we got there, and 15 minutes after we arrived, the baby comes out right out and healthy and everybody's healthy.
And the next day you're home.
Yes. It was crazy.
How old's your son now?
33.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. Ours are 6, or they're about to be 6. So real different challenges between you and me.
But that's the thing. So what came next? So thankfully your wife survived.
Yeah. Well, she ended up having to have another procedure to stop intra-abdominal bleeding. So the next day, things still were not totally settled with her, but over time, she healed. And, notwithstanding the fact that she had a lot of pain from having had major abdominal surgery, she did pretty well. I mean, this is a woman who'd wanted to be a mother her whole life. So much so that she endured 5 years of being poked and prodded and the inevitable disappointments that come from failed IVF procedures. And so she really dug right in. And I think if not for the fact that I began to do so poorly, I think she would have just thrived even more. Mm-hmm. I've asked her in retrospect, was it difficult to not have my help during those days when I was so impaired? she's like, well, it was worse than that. I would have been better off alone, because it was like having a third child. It was like managing your feelings and your anxieties and the need for control that became the way I dealt with that anxiety, that just sapped her of all her energy and took away a lot of the joy of parenting that I think she otherwise would have felt.
I guess I have to take my hat off to your wife, because the first thing, if I were in her shoes, the first thing I think I would have said is, dude, come on, suck it up. I got 2 babies here. What's going on?
You know, I think, you know, she's endured some hardships in her life too. And I think for her, the mindset was, I just got to dig in, and I got to leave this guy behind. In fact, you know, a lot of people have asked me in retrospect, like, why do you think she stayed? I mean, she could have left you and raised these on her own and probably, I mean, not necessarily been happier, but at least on some level easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what's the answer?
I think really, I must have done something really well in a past life, because she not only did stay, but she was really the one who I don't want to use the word discovered, but who kind of took some knowledge that she was given by a friend and therapist of hers and came to me with this idea that, like, you know, maybe you're not just miserable at being a parent. Maybe you're not just really bad at this. Maybe you have something. Maybe you know, it's like you're sniffly and someone says, oh, you caught a cold. Well, I was anxious and upset and having chest pains and palpitations and sleeplessness. Maybe that's not just me. Maybe I caught something. Mm-hmm. And although that was a hard truth to hear at first, I think by the time I started seeing a therapist and really getting to talk about this and deal with it became a way to, you know, having a name for what I was experiencing helped to take away some of the shame. I mean, imagine, you know, you're a 45-year-old guy and you got a bunch of advanced degrees and you think that you kind of know how to live your life. And these kids come along and you're like completely dilapidated in every way. And you think, I suck. I'm terrible at this. I'm a bad parent and I'm not connected with these babies. I'm not connected with my wife. And like, that's on me. Mm-hmm. And so to go from that to like, well, maybe I caught a cold. Maybe I caught something. It took a lot of the blame and a lot of the shame off of me and allowed me to do the work that I needed to do to get better. And so, you know, all of that started with Lindsay. I mean, she's the one that brought that to me.
Yeah. Well, you know, we all, I think, are hesitant to admit that maybe there's something wrong with us. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I need some help. And all those degrees don't make you immune to your humanity.
I really appreciate you saying it that way, because, you know, mental health is complicated. Mental health for men is super complicated. And I think you're right. I think for a lot of people, there is a stigma attached to things like depression and anxiety. Like if you can't control your feelings, it's like you don't know how to ride a bike or something. And I think, you know, we're fortunate in the part of the country we live in where, you know, I think, you know, most people at some point have gone to therapy because it's the culture out here. It's more kind of a part of everyday life for people. And so fortunately, I didn't have to counter that, but I did have to counter, like, here is a thing about me that I can't control and that I can't make better alone. But it's like, if I broke my leg, I wouldn't be able to fix that either.
Right. Yeah.
And so here we are.
Yeah. This idea of post-paternal natal depression, I had never heard that until I got the pitch from your book. How prevalent is that? How often do guys experience this?
Great question. And I like that you, and I don't take this wrong way, I like that you stumbled over the name a little bit, because nobody even knows what to call this. So in moms, you call it postpartum depression. It's as simple as that. And the truth is, it has not been that long since we didn't know what to call that either. And that we would laugh at women who complained of these symptoms too and say, oh, it's just in your head, suck it up, take a Xanax or whatever. And what I have learned is that there are a lot of people who really bristle at men using the term postpartum. And there are also a lot of people who bristle at men talking about this at all and saying that men have any physiologic or psychological reaction to the transition to parenthood. And so you have to be a little bit careful like how you word this. So what I call it in the book is paternal postnatal depression, because that, I mean, it's paternal. It's postnatal, it's after birth, but I'm not the one that gave birth.
Right.
And so that's accurate, but it's still, it still can trigger for people a sense that we are sort of co-opting a thing that is truly women's experience to have and to talk about. And that for men, it's really just, I mean, I've heard, Jed, you'd be shy. I mean, I've heard everything. The comment section of social media is terrible. You hear that,
why are you reading the comments that don't read
I know, right? maybe by the time I write a second book, I'll be mature enough not to look for external validation. But this is important. So you'll hear things like, men's depression isn't real. It's just they're sad because they can't go to the gym and hang out with their buddies, and that their wife is now paying attention to the baby and not them. They're no longer king of the hill. Their wife is no longer interested in sex. Their wife is now in love with the baby, and because we're getting less attention, now we're complaining and whining. And I got to tell you, man, the last thing I wanted was more attention. This idea that I was kind of bummed out because I couldn't go to the gym. I mean, first of all, look, my wife did everything in her power to get me out of the house, to take breaks and to go do things, just hoping that I would somehow feel better. It didn't make a lick of difference. I've heard people say, take a Tylenol and scotch. Jed, I drank wine every night with dinner, and it wasn't just a glass, okay? There was no amount of alcohol that made this better for me, no amount of cigarettes, nothing. And so these complaints that people have ring completely. It's like they're talking about a banana and I'm talking about a rocket ship. It's just not the same.
Right. Well, I mean, you're going into the political stuff and, and
you'll never win that. It just,
it doesn't make, talk about a mental illness. I mean, collective. So I just don't want to go there. I can't win.
You can't, you're not going to, as my publicist said, go into the comment section if you want, but you're not going to change anybody's mind.
Oh, exactly. But I experienced, the people who listen to the podcast regularly know I blew out both of my quad tendons simultaneously. And went from being an active guy who's jumping and performing on stage and whatnot to being in a wheelchair overnight. And 18 months of physical therapy, and even after that, being incredibly cautious and afraid of walking down a set of stairs. And I just realized last night a friend of ours gave us tickets to Santana, and we went. And at the end of the night, it was at a shed, an amphitheater. We came out, and it took us an hour to find the parking lot we were in, not the car, the parking lot. Because they said there's a lot here, and over here there's another one, and so we're walking around, and I'm walking through this wooded area, grassy, uneven terrain, and I'm not thinking about it at all. And this is the first time in four years, and so it's like, I know people tell me, you had post-traumatic stress, and I'm like, I'm not claiming that. I'm not a soldier. But something went on that made my brain not work the way it should. And we need to have empathy for folks who are experiencing something and not knowing. You're feeling bad. You didn't tip out on your kids or your wife. You were there. You were trying.
Well, I was doing the best I could. And I really appreciate you sharing that story with me. It's probably not easy to talk about because I imagine that was a really emotional period for you.
It really was. I'll tell you, I've had great therapists. I was in a rehab, coming out of the hospital. The surgeon at first goes, "Oh yeah, you're going to go home tomorrow." How am I going to get up the stairs? I'm going to sit in my butt and push myself up. But I went to rehab. It was great. I've had great therapists, very supportive wife. My kids, being able to work really hard at it was wonderful. So I was, really, really lucky. And, it kind of helped me, I think, be a better podcaster, just because when we talk about how lives can change, experiencing that my life changed in a second, in a second. It was very, very, eye-opening. So, so when we're talking about these things, it's like I think I have a little bit more understanding and empathy for, even though I'm here, an almost 100-year-old guy, and I said, I can't imagine your wife didn't say, dude, come on, suck it up. Yeah, I got 2 babies here. You got to help me out.
That idea that going through something makes you a better person, I think is super interesting. And it's also super true. And I talk about this a little bit towards the end of the book, like why did this happen to me? And is there anything, like, what good can be taken from it? And something that I kind of a line that I started to explore and ultimately wrote about was that, one of the few things that all of us share is that we're all going to have something. Mm-hmm. And it may be that, like, on your deathbed, you realize, oh, this grudge that you have been nursing for years with your cousin or your brother or whatever, like, now no longer seems so important. Or, in my case, it was this event around fatherhood, and for you, it was this physical injury. But if we could all just get on board with the idea that nobody gets out alive, mm-hmm. everybody is going to have something, that this shared humanity around not just the suffering, but like how we treat each other in those moments. I mean, you can imagine the different world that we might live in if just that little change occurred. If we could all just sort of understand that everybody's going to have something, including me and you and everyone we're talking to, and to just mm-hmm. kind of give them a little grace and a little space.
Yes, give each other grace, give each other space, be supportive of each other. So, such a great message to tell the people in the comments section, but they're not.
No, that's not what they write about. I mean, some do. It's not all negative, fortunately, or nobody would ever do this. I have to say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, I have to say, in person, when you talk to people about this stuff, I hear all the time, like, God, I think I had something like that, or, oh, I think my spouse had something like that. I'm really glad you're talking about this, because people don't know and people need to know. So there is this balance of good stuff too.
Yeah. So what was it? I talked about the nurses and the therapists who kind of helped me through. I also have to give ChatGPT some credit, because I've been sitting, hey, trying to feel it, like, what's going on here? And it's like helping me understand the I can't think of the word, but basically not knowing where my body is in space. And
the proprioception.
There you go. That's why you're a doctor and I'm a dummy. Yeah. But it was very helpful because, at one point my surgeon, I was telling him, I'm not feeling as agile as I was, 6 months after surgery. And I said, what kind of exercise do I need to do? And his only response was, it's probably not your body, it's probably your brain.
Oh, interesting.
Leave it like that. And I'm like, okay, so this is broken. And, but whereas when I have the time to talk to, an AI tool, it's like, oh, it means this and this and this, and this is what might be going on. So that's, I don't listen to ChatGPT for my medical advice, just some clarification.
But you would not be the first.
So I know what kind of has helped me through this. What kind of things helped you get through your bout?
Well, I got to tell you, what helped was a little bit different at each stage. And what do I mean by that? Well, when I first started talking with a therapist, it was a lot of like, I just need to unload these feelings. I mean, I was so anxious all day, just jolts of electricity running through my body all day, every day, at night. And to just be able to get that out of me onto another person who is receptive and attuned to what I needed and what I was going through. That was kind of the first thing. And that is probably the least interesting part for the therapist, but to at least create this environment of safety around our conversation and our work together was super important for me. And then I think, and I write a whole chapter on this in the book about my relationship with my therapist and with therapy, and kind of trying to get at, like, what is it that makes therapy work, particularly in an era when you're no longer like in the same room with somebody. Mm-hmm. Because in COVID, everything went virtual, and we're 5 years in, I've still never been in the same room with my therapist.
Oh, wow.
It's been virtual the whole time.
Yeah.
So what is it in general, and what was it for me is such a hard question. And I don't want to cop out and say, oh, there's just this mystical thing that happens when two people are sharing space. But I think a very skilled therapist can make you feel safe and attended to, and that everything that they're doing and saying is for your benefit, not for them. That helps bring out of you the stuff. And when they kind of catch something and can make you go back to something that maybe you glossed over, it sort of forces you to be like, oh yeah, I glossed over that because I'm ashamed of it. Let's dig into this thing. And I think through that work, I finally had to come to grips with the fact that, and I'm not sure how much of the book you've read, but I have a brother, and he's a year older than me, and our father, left us when we were around 12 and remarried, moved away, and we never saw him after that. And so as a 51-year-old man, I'm now like 40 years in to not having heard from my father. And so I spent years being in denial about how that might impact me. But through the course of therapy, as an example, I had to come to grips with the fact that, like, I was hurt by that and I wasn't over it. And of course, like, having kids and my own fatherhood event is going to trigger this thing that was just kind of buried in there for so long. Yeah. And so I think therapy, it can look like a lot of things, but for me, it looked like attuning to all those little nuts and bolts and kind of unscrewing them here and letting something out and focusing on it and making me think about it and talk about it and be honest about it.
Yeah. Dude, if I were your therapist and I heard that story about your dad tipping out when you were 11 years old, it would have been like, dude, you're just afraid you're going to be a jerk like your dad was.
Well, and of course I was, right? Like, he had me when he was 20 or 25. And when I was 25, I was drinking and carousing and going to the idea that you would have, I don't want to let him off the hook, but I understand that when you're 25, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And so having kids at that stage of life is going to, maybe set you up for something too. But at the end of the day, he was the adult. Mm-hmm. He was the parent. It was his responsibility, and he bailed. Yep. And I spent years saying, oh, who cares? He was a jerk anyway. I'm better off without him. Didn't bother me and I'm fine. But to your point, of course I'm not fine. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I've learned to do when people tell me I get divorced, and this happened to my dad, and I always say, oh, I'm sorry about that. And a lot of times people come back like you just said, well, he was a jerk. I'm better without him. And it's like, yeah, but you're still disappointed. You're still hurt because it didn't work out the way that you wanted. And so acknowledge that.
Well, it's funny you say it that way because, witnessing the traumatic birth experience, because I do what I do for a living, I'm sure on a conscious level was like, oh yeah, I see that kind of stuff. I do that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's my wife, but like everything happened the way it was supposed to and she got rescued and blah, 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 blah. Well, fast forward 2 days, and keep in mind this is August of 20, so the first kind of COVID summer. A year before, I'd had my primary care annual appointment, right? And at that appointment, you set up the next appointment for the following year. Well, it was set up for, like 2 days after we ended up giving birth. So I'm taking this primary care appointment on my computer in the hospital room, right? 2 days after the girls are born. And I'm talking with my doctor like I'm talking to you on Zoom. And she can hear the babies crying in the background. She's like, good God, what's going on? Where are you? I was like, well, let me tell you, I got these babies. And she's like, well, how'd it go? How's everybody? I'm like, well, here's what happened. And she took a big breath and she sighed and she said, listen, you're not going to be able to hear this right now. That you've just seen birth trauma. This is what this is. And I don't care how strong you think you are. I don't care how much of this you think you've done. You are now a victim to birth trauma. And in 6 months, when you pull your head out of your ass, get your butt to a therapist, because this is big. Mm-hmm. This is going to impact you in ways that you can't even understand right now. And you're going to have to deal with this. And you know something, Jed? I couldn't hear her because I basically blocked out that whole experience until about 16 or 18 months ago when I was finishing the book. I was like writing about that period. And I'm like, oh my God, I had totally forgotten that I had this appointment and that this doctor said this to me. I blocked this out for like 4 years. She's totally right.
Yeah.
So these things that happen to you, even though on a cot, you're like, you have to sort of, oh, I'm fine, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Man, it's in there.
Yeah.
And it's in here. Yeah. And you got to deal with it.
Yeah. So how are the girls? The baby, then your mom?
I'm surprised you can't hear them kind of running around. They're going to be 6 in a month or so. They are so robust and healthy, and now being able to really appreciate them, I can see just how from day one, just what little machines they are. There's never been a thing wrong with them. I mean, they get their coughs and their colds, but it's like they eat everything, they sleep, they play, they're hilarious. They want to jump around on me all the time. When I come home, they're happy to see me. When I come home, I'm happy to see them. They're just these hilarious, beautiful little creatures, and I love it.
Awesome. And your wife?
Yeah, she's great. She, notwithstanding all the physical stuff that happened with her during the birth, physically she healed very well. She had a lot of issues with mastitis, but still somehow breastfed the girls till they were 15 months. Her biggest wound was me and what my behavior did to our relationship. And so while she physically healed relatively quickly, it took a long time emotionally for her to feel like she could trust me, that she could trust that I was going to be there and do okay for the family, and a long time to rebuild our relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you're working on it.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that.
You have this opportunity with your kid. You're here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, so you must know how important it is for you to read with your kids every night, even after they start reading on their own. But more importantly for you, it's going to be therapeutic. All that time you spend reading with the kids, all the time you spend talking to them, getting to know them, asking them questions so that you can see into how their brains are working. It is going to be so cool, and it's just going to help heal whatever it was that broke inside you when they came into the world.
Oh, you're 100% right. We read so much. And actually, that's a great question for you. You'd said even once they start reading on their own, keep reading to them. Yeah, so
absolutely.
I could see particularly one of them just wanted to do it all herself, right? Because that's how she is. And once she starts reading, I'm thinking, we're never going to see her again. But good advice. Yeah. Keep reading to her.
Absolutely. The best thing that happened, my daughter was in 2nd grade. She was reading. My son was reading he didn't go to nursery school, but he was reading before he got to kindergarten. Didn't let me know. He goes in school, he's reading to all his friends, but he loved me reading to him. My daughter, not so much, but she was still reading and she wasn't behind. But she got to 2nd grade and she was reading independently, and her teacher, Miss Kelly, big, strong woman, came up to me. She goes, "You got to keep reading to her." I'm like, "I do? Really? Awesome. I love it." And because I just love that time together with it. And so, and there's studies. I just had Anders Schleicher, but very scholar, just the biggest single predictor of kids being healthy and successful as adults is being read to as kids and being spent time with their parents as kids. So
Amazing.
Right there, you're right there. Tell us where we can go to find out more about Even the Darkest Night and find out more about you.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity to do that. So I have a website. It's ChristopherChoukalas.com. It's first name, last name. Super easy to spell and say, of course. But if you type in Even the Darkest Night, Chris, you're going to find links to the book, and you can buy it anywhere. And I put stuff out on Instagram from time to time. There's a New York Times story. There's a Times of London piece that's coming out this week, and a bunch of podcasts. So I'm thrilled to get to do this. This is the funnest part of this whole experience, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. We've had a really fascinating time speaking to the author of Even the Darkest Night. Our guest has been Dr. Christopher Choukalas. Hey, Dr. Chris, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Jed, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, this is a message for all the authors that are listening. You know, you worked hard on your book. You spent months, maybe years, writing, revising, dreaming, and believing. You created characters, solved problems, overcame doubts, and brought a story into the world that only you could tell. Now it's time to help readers discover it. The Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program was created to celebrate outstanding children's books and to help authors reach more families. When a book earns our seal of approval, we don't stop with an award certificate. We review the book, feature it on the podcast, share it across social media, and help introduce it to parents, teachers, librarians, and caregivers who are looking for great books to share with kids. Because your story matters. And the families who need your story deserve a chance to find it. Please visit readingwithyourkids.com and click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to learn more. That's readingwithyourkids.com. Let your book find the readers it was written for. Join us right now from the beautiful state of South Carolina. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Having a Giraffe as a Classroom Pet. Please welcome to the show, Miss Bree. Miss Bree, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Delighted to have you on. What a phenomenal idea for a classroom pet, having a giraffe. That is wild. Tell me about the book.
Yeah, so I wrote it 13 years ago during a time I couldn't work or go to school because I had an illness, so I had a lot of time on my hand, and I could only color so many coloring books, and so I wanted to do something different, and I was like, I'm going to write a children's book. So I did the words, and then I even did the drawings, and that was well spent time. And then once I got better, I put it away because I didn't have any luck, and I finished my degree and I worked in the field, and then I ended up pulling it back out 13 years later, and because I had a dream that my grandpa wanted me to pull it back out and he didn't want me to give up. He's in my dedication. He gave me the courage in his own special way to never give up on my dream of having my book published and to always keep writing. So the book is about basically my years in the classroom. So they get this classroom pet giraffe, and the kids have to find ways for it to fit into the classroom routine, just like the rest of the kids. And so the kids have to think creative and be open-minded to the giraffe, a different perspective in life. And me being very short, I wanted to have a different perspective in life. So I chose a giraffe, which is very tall, the opposite of me, who is very short. And so, yeah, the kids come up with, so with teamwork, care, and problem solving, the class makes sure the classroom pet is included in everything.
Wow, that's really neat. What a story. I love that your grandfather gave you the inspiration to keep on trying.
Yeah, he, that helped me. It's going to work out. Just don't give up.
Yeah. Now, I understand that you are a teacher right now.
Yes, not daily, but I do classroom visits.
Oh, neat, neat, neat. Tell me, what's the reaction from the kids?
Oh, they have really enjoyed it, whether it's parents or the kids. I get a lot of compliments on the illustrations. They're
Uh-huh.
very heartwarming and, silly. And, yeah, people just really love the illustrations. The illustrator is Colleen C. Kojins. She's out of Canada. I got connected to her, and once she got my vision, it took a couple times going back and forth, and then it was like, oh, that's perfect. People really say it fits my personality, that the illustration's very cute and heartwarming and sweet. And one thing nice about the book that it's not super long, and kids' attention spans are very short these days. And parents tell me that, oh, it's my child's they're just learning to read. So they're gonna go home tonight and read the book. Because it's a good book, whether you're starting to read or it's been a lot of newborn gifts. People will say, oh, whether it's a baby shower or my grandchild is about to be born. As soon as I get the name, you can write their name in it and sign it. I even did a 5th grade writing lesson with it, and the kids really enjoyed the book. They thought it was cute, and it's very intriguing. They just find it really silly and heartwarming.
Yeah. Tell me, what kind of, because we're all about encouraging families to read together, and then as they're reading, to talk about the book. What kind of conversations do you think families can have as they're reading, having a giraffe as a classroom pet?
Oh, what I like to encourage is that if at the end, I like to ask, if you had a classroom pet, what would be your giraffe's name? Or what ways would you help it? What ways in the routine would you, how would you problem solve them? In the classroom routine, what problem solving would you help it? Like in your classroom routine, think of a way you would help the giraffe.
Yeah. Well, I love that the book encourages kids to think outside the box to help somebody feel included. I think that's a super trait for kids to have.
And it helps kids learn a little about a giraffe, like for example, in the lunchroom, a giraffe is always hungry. It eats a ton of food during snack time and lunch. So you learn a giraffe eats a lot of food. Mm-hmm. Or giraffes are very tall, and they have long necks, so they help reach things in the trees. So you realize how tall they are. So there's a little, they teach you a little about giraffes too, of what they're like.
Great. Well, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about having a giraffe as a classroom pet and find out more about Miss Bree.
Yeah, I have Instagram and Facebook, Miss Bree Books, MISSBRI, and then Books, BOOKS, Instagram and Facebook. And then my book is available on Amazon, and it's available pretty much when you search the web. Barnes & Noble's online. It's also available on Ingram. And yeah, it's how to solve problems together, how to care for someone special. And yeah, encourages kids to celebrate what makes them unique.
Wonderful. We've had a fun time speaking to the author of Having a Giraffe as a Classroom Pet. Our guest has been Miss Bree. Hey, Miss Bree, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You know, one of my favorite family memories growing up, and honestly still today, is gathering around the grill in the summertime. Good food, kids running around, laughing, maybe somebody reading on a picnic blanket while dinner cooks. There's just something magical about it. And speaking of cookouts, I want to tell you about a company our family has been enjoying called Big Fork Brands. Now, friends, this is not ordinary cookout food. Big Fork makes incredible bacon sausage, craft jerky, meat sticks, and those amazing Chicago-style sauces that instantly level up burgers, hot dogs, fries, all your cookout favorites. Their bacon sausage is kind of legendary. They combine hardwood smoked bacon with premium pork and create flavors like hickory and applewood, maple and brown sugar, and spicy 3-pepper. Honestly, it sounds fancy, but it's really just fun, delicious food families can enjoy together. And another thing I really appreciate, they work with small Iowa farms, raising heritage hogs outdoors without any antibiotics. So there's a real commitment to quality and sustainability behind everything they make. So here's my challenge to you this summer. Plan a read together cookout night. Fire up the grill. Put the phones away for a little while. Enjoy a great meal together. And end the evening reading together as a family. And to help make it happen, Big Fork Brands is giving our listeners an exclusive 20% discount. Just head on over to bigforkbrands.com and use the promo code READ at checkout. Great food, great conversation, great books. That sounds like real magic to me. Join us right now from the wonderful state of Maryland. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called My First Time on a School Bus. Please welcome to the show, Anastasia Sudeikis. Anastasia, how are you?
Hi, Jen. It's great to be here.
Super to have you on. My first time on a school bus. Wow, what an experience so many kids all around the country have gone through.
Yeah, it's, I actually decided to write it after so I was working in daycare for a long time, and I realized that children just are very comfortable around people they know, but they're very uncomfortable around people they don't.
Yeah.
And when we had our daycare, they would come to us and leave, and everything was great. And then in the summer, they would come, and we would go on field trips every day.
Uh-huh.
This one little girl was just terrified to get on the bus. And I realized, I put myself in her shoes, and I realized that it's a completely legit fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you don't know who you're going with. You've met these people for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
These folks you've met for 5 minutes tell you, great, you're comfortable here, now get on the bus and leave.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And also, and I'm sure you know this by working with kids, and I know you have a few kids, we don't give kids a lot of choices. We think we do, but we don't. We don't ask them if they want to go on the field trip. We tell them they're going and to get on the bus.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember many, many years ago, performing at a school. I was getting ready. I was bringing my equipment in, and I was parked near the bus lane. And I remember seeing a bus pull up and 4-year-olds getting off the big yellow school bus. And I think my kids were right around that same age, and we were fortunate our kids were able to walk to school, or we could drop them off. They never had to get on a school bus. I remember being horrified seeing these little babies just jumping on and off a school bus, and I couldn't imagine being in their shoes.
Right.
Yeah. So how was it writing? This is your debut picture book. It takes a lot to write a picture book. Where did you get the inspiration to sit down and say, I'm going to write a picture book and I'm going to make it happen?
Well, to be honest, I'm not the first one in my family to do a picture book. My aunt published a few in the early 2000s. My cousin just published one a few years ago. And I just thought it would be a great picture book and to get the word out to kids. And it's a fun way to do it too.
Yeah. So as we're watching this kid take his first journey on a school bus, what kind of conversations do you think families can have as they're reading this book with their kids?
Okay, well, the first conversation is obviously if a kid is riding the bus for the first time, what to expect. The bus is going to pick you up at a certain time. You're going to go without me as your parent. You can sit next to a friend. If you don't know anyone on the bus, you can meet a new friend.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, if you have a veteran school bus rider, because I was thinking about this, if you have a veteran school bus rider like his friend here.
Okay.
Right?
One of the spreads has the young guy with one of his friends on the bus.
With one of his friends on the bus. And you've ridden the bus all year and somebody comes in who's brand new, sit next to him, make conversation with him, make him feel comfortable. It can really make a child's day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that's an important conversation to have with our kids too, especially the kids who, as you said, are veteran school bus riders, to just make them aware, look around, see if you see somebody who looks uncomfortable or nervous, and sit down and kind of reassure them.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. What was the biggest challenge you faced as you were writing this book?
There were a few. I'd never done it before, and it was remote. The publisher, you get a contract, and then you get a contract, and I didn't meet the illustrator. I couldn't talk to her directly.
Mm-hmm.
I actually met her on Facebook, and I started talking to her. I thanked her. Her name's Joy Kelly. She did an amazing job.
Uh-huh.
But it just, some of the process is a long process, and you're dealing with different people in different parts of the process.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's not the same person all the way through. And that's very frustrating because one of the project managers left, and I didn't know she had left.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that separation between author and illustrator is pretty common when you're dealing with a publisher, and I imagine it must have been frustrating for you, probably not knowing that going in.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you've written My First Time on a School Bus, what's the what was the reaction to the book has been? Have you had an opportunity to read to any groups?
Not yet. I had a friend who invited me to her class, so I might do that at the beginning of the school year. School year is just ending now.
Sure. Uh-huh.
But also, I have, my parents have a place in Delaware that there is a fair for kids that is coming up, and you're selling art and pottery, and I'm going to sell my books.
Oh, great.
Be able to sign them and sell them.
Excellent. Excellent. That sounds like a lot of fun. Are you going to write another book?
I've thought about it. I've thought about if I want to make this a series or not. I haven't decided yet. I do have other ideas, but I haven't decided definitely.
All right. And you mentioned being working in daycare earlier in our conversation. What kind of books do you love reading to your kids in daycare?
They like I've noticed a lot of books. They have a lot of books that are about animals.
Uh-huh.
And they have a lot of books now with like diversity, diverse characters and diverse families. And those are really fun to read with kids. What else? I do like poetry books. This is a poetry book. And I like poetry books. So, it depends on the kid.
Okay, great. Great. Hey, where can we go to find out more about My First Time on a School Bus and find out more about you?
So there's a website in the back of the book, dorancepublishing.com.
Uh-huh.
It's also on Amazon. It's also, I believe, on, I think it's on Walmart.com. Like there's a bunch of places that you can.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We've had a fun time speaking to the author of My First Time on a School Bus, and this is her first time writing a picture book. Our guest has been Anastasia Sudeikis. Hey, Anastasia, thanks for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. You'll join us for the next exciting episode of the show. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Dr. Christopher Choukalas. Please be sure to check out Even the Darkest Night. Also want to thank Miss Bree. Be sure to check out Having a Giraffe as a Classroom Pet. And we want to thank Anastasia Sudeikis. Please be sure to check out My First Time on a School Bus. I want to thank my incredible team, Daylene Rose, Advina Lopez, Chris Doherty, Ella Badier. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better, more empathetic place and to give your kids the best chance at being happy and successful. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.